Hi everyone, happy that you're here joining me for this week's watercolor tutorial. I decided to call this Meadow Under the Mountain. It reminded me a little bit of a time last late spring into summer. My son and I camped in Baxter State Park in Chimney Pond, and I was remembering that time with him. And although I did not draw the water that lays in front of the mountain at the view there, it's Chimney Pond, I decided to just do a meadow, kind of adding in those yellow flowers. So gather your supplies. We need paper, brushes, our watercolor pan, and some great paper if you have it, and we'll get started. So I'm beginning this with a light wash using my wide flat brush, and going to just wet out the sky area. So this drawing was really simple, just 2 lines essentially, one to show where the meadow begins and one to show where the mountains and sky meet. So I'm going to do a very light blue wash back here, and I'm just dabbing it in certain areas because I really don't want this to be too dark. I'd like a really nice light sky today because I plan to really provide some contrast with the mountain, just kind of to see what that will look like. Try that today. So you don't have to use blue here. You could go for any color you want. You could do a sunrise with pinks and oranges, sunset, getting some of those deep purples in. Just laying in some of that really light blue color, that's just the water now, into the mountain area, and wetting that down. And you can tell that I didn't really do too much with the sky, just a little bit of paint, and see how it looks after it's had some time to dry. Just getting my water on there. The flat brush is great for going in and doing those peaks of the mountain. So I'm going to use a mix of Prussian blue, cerulean, cobalt, ultramarine, and in the tutorial, I won't darken in the mountains as much as I will ultimately darken them in. I go back into this after it's dried, and doesn't take too long because I don't go into much more, just the mountains, and add a little bit of that contrast in there, darkening it up. And I do use a little bit of Payne's Gray and a neutral tone mixed with the blue when I darken it out. But I start with a nice base layer here. So we do layer and use the watercolor in a layered sense. Just keep adding color. And try to just keep it really loose. You can always go back in and sharpen up details later. Moving around the page, just so that I don't get too caught up in details right now. All right, I'm going to lay a light green down at the bottom for the meadow. It'll have a little bit of yellow in it. Just going to dab it in again. Really don't want anything to be overloaded with paint when I start out with this piece. So adding that tree line in, and then going down toward the front, sort of dabbing and then smoothing it around, maybe getting some of those browns on my brush too at some point. Right now it's just kind of water, and it's moving around what's already there because there's already a good bit of paint there. So with my raw sienna, I'll go in and darken up some of those areas in the front so that we can create some depth, atmospheric perspective with our darkest colors down in the front, and then gradually heading back. Now this is different if I'm going to do a contrasting mountain real dark. You wouldn't generally see that, but it's kind of like the shadow of the mountain, and it will be a dark area in the piece. So dabbing, doing some of these flowers with my pointy brush, just a few. I'm kind of just staying in the white area right now that doesn't have any water on it, and that's just going to give me some defined flowers. And then I will go into the wet on wet, especially as I push out back toward the mountain. Kind of they start to blur. Just dabbing, not worrying about if the petal looks exactly like a petal. It's more just the idea behind it, or creating an illusion. And again, you could pick a different color for your flowers. You could even add a tree in the front, or an animal if you wanted. Really make this your own, and just experiment and explore. I'm adding a little bit of green grass around. And this is very wet still, but I can get a little bit of a tree line in there. And again, once everything is dry, I'll go back in and redefine tree trunks. I'll redefine leaves on the trees, and then definitely darken in that mountain. But I can already tell that I'm liking the way the sky is drying. It's having that kind of very misty look that I was going for. So I'm happy with that. I'm just doing some really simple Y trees, the pointy part of my brush. And you can always stop the video and just work on it at your own pace. Take your time and come back to it when you're ready. You can even just let it dry for a while and come back to it. So I'm going to get some of those new spring leaves on there with our light yellowy green. Just dabbing right on the wet. It's going to blend out quite a bit right now, so that's why later on when I work on the mountain and darkening it up, I'll also redefine some of these leaves of the tree. You can always look to the written instructions too, if that's helpful. And the prompts, of course, are there for you. I love seeing all your work in either the chat, or some people send it to my email. Sometimes I see it in a post on Substack, or a note, I should say, on Substack. And it's just always great to see how people are kind of taking these and making them their own, because people really do. They kind of take bits and pieces from what I'm offering here, and then they really just make their own piece. So it's always neat to see that. There's no right or wrong, and it's just really more about the process of slowing down and experimenting and releasing this idea of an outcome and exactly what it's supposed to look like. So if you would like to share, I'd love to see it later, or hear maybe how the prompts are going for you. If you like those and use those, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And I'm going to finish this out for now. I'll be coming back to it in just a bit. Thanks so much.